Sophie Cunningham's response to all this, in terms of her tweets, like, if you guys didn't see Sophie Cunningham's retweets, Sophie Cunningham obviously responded with the shrug Instagram post, but has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jersey being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like, that is the best way of going about it.
So what's the game plan? Apparently, it's starting a petition to ban Sophie Cunningham like she's some sort of Marvel supervillain. But her response, let's just say it wasn't an apology, it was a highlight reel drenched in swagger. If you expected tears, think again. Sophie showed up with receipts, attitude, and a mic drop so loud it echoed across the WNBA. This wasn't damage control, it was straight-up domination. Cancel culture came for her, and she turned it into a one-woman comedy special. And trust us, you won't believe what she—
I need to talk about this right here. So yesterday's game was obviously funny. Yesterday's game was obviously crazy. But have you guys not seen the petition? The petition, lads. So if you guys didn't see, obviously, there is the Dallas Wings fan page. Take the All-Star game out of Indiana. I'm serious. This is about player safety. Dude, don't worry. Neither JC or Marina is making the All-Star team. Players will be safe. The only player on the Dallas Wings that's going to make the All-Star team is Paige Beck.
Saw the petition, laughed mid-lunge, and retweeted it like it was fan mail because Sophie Cunningham didn't just unbothered. She's thriving on the drama like it's her pre-game protein shake. They tried to cast her as the villain in some overhyped hoops soap opera, and she showed up like, you ran? This isn't a redemption arc, it's full-on retaliation, laced with glitter and a killer crossover.
All-Star break in Indiana, and I'm like, man, Dejanay Carrington needs to work her way back into the starting lineup for the worst team in the WNBA before she even thinks about being an All-Star this year. But yeah, it is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious.
That tweet, oh, she didn't just retweet it, she blessed it like a royal decree from the Queen of Petty Lynn. It was the digital equivalent of cracking her knuckles and saying let's dance. Because if you thought she was going to shrink under the weight of public outrage, you must be new here. Sophie Cunningham doesn't fold, she retaliates with tempo, with fire, and with a perfectly placed side.
Now everybody knows who Sophie Cunningham is. Everybody wants a piece of Sophie Cunningham. Her jersey is the #1 selling jersey in the WNBA. Sold out. Now, why is that significant? I'll tell you. Because her jersey surpassed the all-time woman, Caitlin Clark. The most popular woman ever in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, got her jersey surpassed by Sophie Cunningham. Why? Because Sophie Cunningham stood up for Caitlin.
That petition, itself a masterpiece of pearl-clutching hysteria, fans screeching for bans like it's a dystopian version of American Idol where instead of singing you get cancelled for existing to confidently. But Sophie isn't dirty, she's reactive. There's a difference between chaos and consequence, and people seem to forget that when she gets physical, it's almost always because someone else got messy first. She's not throwing the first punch, she's just returning the favor with interest and a little extra.
See, so I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm just saying. Sophie Cunningham stood on business. So all these damn petitions and all these little stupid things they're trying to do, these little freaking fines, we don't care about none of that. Now, just like Rachel said, your boy John Liquidator, I'm not condoning any violence whatsoever. But what I can tell you is that Sophie Cunningham stood on business and did the human thing to do.
Because if you mess with her teammates, Sophie's going full medieval. You so much as breathe on her squad the wrong way, and she's coming at you like a human freight train powered by loyalty and fury. It's not about fouls, it's about family. The league can debate the rules all day, but when someone goes at her girls, Sophie's not asking questions, she's making statements, and suddenly out of nowhere, Sophie Cunningham has become the WNBA's most unlikely Fan favorite not for the Fever Dream Brigade, clinging to Caitlin Clark like she's a one-woman revolution, but for literally everyone else, Sophie's the anti-hero. We didn't know we needed. She's got the aggression of a linebacker, the Twitter finesse of a meme lord, and the emotional range of a woman who's had enough. It's a Cinderella story, except Cinderella's wearing sneakers, body-checking defenders, and calling out hypocrisy. My dame, they wanted her silenced, and instead, she turned into a headline machine with a highlight reel full of vengeance. She lashed out not out of bitterness, but because she had it up to here with the narrative for months. She's been watching from the sidelines while her teammate Caitlin gets thrown to the wolves. Every move over-analyzed, every bump labeled a conspiracy. Double standards were practically dripping from the arena lights. When Fever players get physical, passionate, gritty, that's just basketball, but when Sophie raises a brow or clears space with her shoulders, suddenly it's a felony, a crisis, a petition. Worthy moment. Someone please explain how Sheldon lowering her shoulder into Sophie was just competitive spirit, but Sophie's response looked like a war crime on the timeline. Is it selective vision or just bad acting? Because let's talk about Sheldon. For a moment, this wasn't just a little contact. Sheldon came with the energy of someone trying to bulldoze a brick wall with her torso. That shoulder wasn't lowered, it was weaponized, and Sophie, she took the hit, blinked once, and responded the way any self-respecting enforcer does, with an emotional sledgehammer. Because if you're going to test her balance, don't cry foul. When she resets the scale, it's not aggression, it's calibration. But here's the kicker: Sophie never wanted to be the league's rebel sweetheart. She just wanted some consistency, a little fairness, maybe a rulebook that applies to everyone equally instead of being rewritten nightly depending on jersey color and Twitter trends. But the moment she realized the bullies weren't going away, she decided to swing back. And not just on the court. Guess whose jersey sold out today? The one and only Sophie Cunningham, aka the enforcer, and Caitlin Clark's bodyguard. Sophie Cunningham defended the face of basketball, and America was in love. I've honestly never seen so many people agree on one thing on Twitter, and they did last night. And also realizing that you wouldn't want to fight Sophie Cunningham after seeing this headlock off court. She's been roasting people with the finesse of a stand-up comic on a vengeance through the retweet was only the beginning. Now she's turned her social media feed into a curated exhibit of shade clapbacks. She's got a gallery, eye roll emojis. She's Picasso. It's not just a feed, it's a mood board for everyone who's ever been unfairly labeled the villain when they were just setting boundaries aggressively. And it's working. The fans have flipped the script. Suddenly people are wearing her jerseys, stitching her plays into TikToks, defending her like she's the last hope for basketball integrity. She's no longer just a player, she's a vibe, the kind of athlete who doesn't need a PR team to handle backlash, because she is the backlash. She's dragging the double standards into the spotlight and dunking on them emotionally with receipts. Meanwhile, the haters spiraling. They don't know what to do with a woman who refuses to wilt. The more noise they make, the louder her cheers get. Every clip of her retaliation gets reposted like it's a trailer for the sequel to Atomic Blonde. Every game is now a showdown between people rooting for justice and others still clutching their pearls because someone played defense with passion. I am sorry, bro. That was honorable. What she had done for Caitlin, bro. What did Rachel Dementor say? What did Rachel say about this? If the refs are not going to do their job, the players are going to have to be the enforcers themselves. This game was chippy from the beginning, and the refs did not do their job. JC as Sheldon. Sophie's not out here throwing elbows for fun. She's defending her people. When Caitlin took hits, who spoke up, who stepped up? Sophie. She saw the whispers, the cheap shots, the subtle fouls no one wanted to call, and said, not on my watch. And yeah, maybe it got physical, maybe she sent a message, but that message was loud and clear: you can push us, but we push back harder. And somehow, in the middle of all this chaos, she's become the WNBA's new symbol of unapologetic power, not because she asked for it, but because she earned it on the court in the chaos. With every shoulder check and snarky tweet, she didn't start the fire, but she definitely learned how to cook with it, because what the haters don't realize is that you can't cancel someone who's already cashed in on their villain arc. Sophie leaned and she made it fashionable, and now the very people who wanted her gone have to watch her climb the ranks, not just as a player, but as a phenomenon. So go ahead, pull up the petition. Watch the signatures roll in like digital tears, because the more they protest, the more power she gathers. She's not just surviving the noise, she's conducting the orchestra. And if you think this is the end, think again. Sophie's just getting started. I don't understand how she ain't got 1 million followers or more by now. I've never really had an opinion on NBA or WNBA because I've just never cared to watch it. It's always been boring since Caitlin Clark. It has been interesting to watch, and now Sophie Cunningham, she don't play about her teammates. These girls, this combo makes it so worth watching. I heard she's a black belt. To what you going to do about it? What you going to do about it? You go, girl. Everybody go follow Sophie. Maybe one day I'll get to come watch him. And just when the smoke from the petition bonfire started to clear, here comes the main event. Sheldon thundering towards Sophie like a linebacker chasing a snack, only for Sophie to master the ancient art of momentum judo. She didn't flop. Please put some respect on it. She strategically absorbed Sheldon's overcooked shoulder like a seasoned chaos connoisseur. She saw that runaway train coming and thought, you know what, let's make this theatrical. Boom, down she goes. Controlled demolition, graceful, iconic basketball's version of a trust fall with zero trust. And somehow, despite the replay showing Sophie's rib cage getting rebranded by a driving shoulder, the refs stood there blinking like deer who just realized the headlights were the rule book they forgot to read, because if common sense were in play, whistles would have sounded like a marching band on caffeine, but instead crickets, a whole silent film from the officiating crew. Let's talk about the referees, those glorified traffic cones and stripes who watched Sheldon plow through Sophie and thought seems fine. Their job was to de-escalate. Instead, they brought folding chairs to the WWE match and forgot which team was actually getting jumped. Marbury poked Sophie in the eye with the delicacy of someone trying to perform laser surgery blindfolded, and still no whistles, no consequences, not even a timeout for bad manners. Was all game, folks, all game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked all game. The Indiana Fever were getting punked all game. The referees let this physical style of basketball continue and continue and continue and continue and continue and continue, and eventually Sophie Cunningham had enough. Oh yeah, Sophie Cunningham had enough, folks. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. We wanted somebody like this that said, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to step up. It's time to step up. We're not gonna get punked anymore. We're not going to get pushed around anymore. We're not going to get treated like a little sister and anymore, like a little brother anymore. We are going to start being the ones that say, you know what, we're not going to start the fight, but we damn sure will finish the fight. Sophie coming in, then came the shove. No, not the polite kind. We're talking full force shoulder physics from two separate directions, like a clumsy physics experiment gone rogue. And what happened? Nothing. Natada Mabry still in the game. Sheldon free to continue her personal demolition tour. Sophie left to fend for herself like the only adult at a middle school food fight. The irony, the league decided to do their best impression of sorry, we missed your call after the game. That's right. The magical post-game upgrade, the oopsie. We just reviewed the footage from 8 different angles and realized, oops, that was bad. It's like giving someone a band-aid after a shark bite. Thanks, but where were you when Sophie got double tagged like a character in a dystopian dodgeball match? Upgrading fouls after the game is the sports equivalent of sending thoughts and prayers after a house here. You started, it does nothing. It's a P or move disguised as justice, and everybody knows it. What Sophie needed was protection in the moment. What she got was a crash course in how not to trust officials who treat egregious fouls like mild inconveniences. The eye poke alone should have drawn blood and a technical. Instead it drew yawns. The two-handed shove that followed followed that was a full-body exorcism, and still no whistle, no flagrant, just Sophie blinking through her contact lenses and wondering what century the refs were refereeing from. What Sophie Cunningham did she stood on business, bro. Sophie Cunningham stood on business about her dear friend Caitlin Clark, bro, and that was honorable what she did, bro. That was honorable. I'm sorry, bro. I will forever justify this. I am sorry, bro. That was honorable what she had done for Caitlin, bro. And then the cherry on top, Maber's blindside shove. If you blinked, you missed it. But don't worry, Sophie didn't, neither did the cameras. It wasn't just dirty, it was sneaky, the kind of hit you deliver when you think no one's watching. Except everyone was, and the refs still did less than nothing at this point. The only thing getting ejected were fans' hopes for fair officiating. Let's be clear, Sophie didn't retaliate. She's got the temperament of a wildcat in heels when provoked, but she didn't swing, she didn't shove, she didn't poke anyone back. She let the chaos unfold and stayed upright until Sheldon made staying upright impossible. That's restraint, that's professionalism, and what does she get for her trouble? A highlight reel of being bodied while the refs sip invisible tea courtside. Meanwhile, Mabry and Sheldon walked away like they just completed a group project where Sophie played the role of Peanut and no texts, no ejections. Just more minutes on the clock and a growing list of fouls. The officials couldn't be bothered to acknowledge the funniest part after all of that. The league's brilliant solution was to upgrade the fouls post-game. If that somehow fixes the imbalance, congratulations, your trauma has been retroactively validated. Now everybody knows who Sophie Cunningham. Everybody wants a piece of Sophie Cunningham. Her jersey is the #1 selling jersey in the WNBA, sold out. Now, why is that significant? Here's a participation ribbon. It's the ultimate non-solution, like realizing you gave the wrong person a parking ticket and deciding to keep the ticket, but frown harder. And it's not like this was an isolated incident. Oh no, this is a pattern, a playbook of inconsistency that's got players like Sophie doing double duty, trying to win games while also defending themselves from tactical assaults that come gift wrapped as competitive spirit. If Sheldon had lowered her shoulder on anyone else, say a Fever player, the game would have stopped, the sky would have darkened, the post-game panel would have hosted an emergency summit. But because it was Sophie, radio silence at this point. It's not just incompetence, it's selective incompetence, because the inconsistencies are too specific, too frequent, and far too convenient. If Sophie breathes wrong, she's a menace. If someone else launches her into the third row, just part of the game, the double standard, so thick you could ice a cake with it. And yet here's Sophie still standing, still tweeting, still showing up to every game like the walking embodiment of try me, because for every ridiculous foul she absorbs, for every call that lets someone else take a free shot, she gets tougher, smarter, sharper. She's not bitter, she's bulletproof, the kind of athlete who turns officiating failures into character arcs. Play with the Fever, because #1, you're going to play on national television every game that helps your brand. You come to play with the Fever because you're playing with Caitlin Clark. You become friends with one of the most powerful, popular athletes in America. But then there's always that moment, and for Sophie Cunningham, that moment occurred the other day with a takedown. Aggravated was perceived as she was protecting Clark. Wasn't really that, but that's alright. Let percept, and let's not pretend fans aren't seeing it. They are every clip, every freeze frame, every replay breakdown on TikTok dissecting how a poke, a shove, and a body slam somehow equaled play on. People are no longer just watching the game, they're auditing it, they're tracking fouls like courtroom stenographers and demanding better. Sophie not just playing basketball anymore, she's starring in a full-blown procedural about injustice, and the receipts are everywhere. This is no longer about one player's temper or one moment of aggression. This is about a pattern of passive oversight that puts players in harm's way while pretending to care. In the post-game paperwork, the league wants intensity, but only from the right people. They want drama, but only if it fits the pre-approved narrative. Sophie didn't fit, so they tried to box her in. Instead, she broke the box, used it as a podium, and lit the whole thing on fire with her next tweet. And still no apology from the refs, no real accountability, just the soft hum of upgraded fouls and a shrug that says we'll do better next time, while doing the exact same thing in the next game. If justice were a jersey, it would be sitting on the bench with an ice pack. Sophie Cunningham is done waiting for fairness. She's rewriting the rule book, one collision at a